Hello and welcome. This is John Struggledork at struggledork.com. Over the next 40 weeks, I'm going to start a new educational process. And I bought myself this little Camtasia studio so that I could go out and teach myself how to communicate on the internet. Because if you remember in the beginning, I knew nothing about the internet and I knew nothing about writing. And all of a sudden, I've evolved to this moment in time. And as I get to this moment in time, I'm still developing who I am and what I want to do. And over the next 40 weeks, we're going to talk about design. And for me, design starts with this body, this human body, or this human body. And the person I study the most is Bucky Fuller. So let's get him to talk a little bit about this human body before I start.
All the living creatures, for instance, are continually affecting the environment. The environment becomes changed, and the changed environment affects the creatures. This is the way in which the universe is evolving. Therefore, change is constant and change is normal. It's only since Einstein that change has become normal. I said we have all the physical, anthropic, and increasingly disorderly, and we have our own little Earth demonstrating it's a place in the universe where energies are collecting and increasingly orderly, and we have man amongst all those mammals, and we begin to try to understand him. And he has a capability that we don't find in any of the other living creatures. That is what we call mind. I differentiate between mind and brain very clearly. Brain is part of his physical equipment. Is so many cubby holes. Every neuron is where he stores, like our film here or tape recording. He has every experience he has. He puts into his memory bank. The memory bank is the brain. Mind and mind alone reviews the total inventory of experience, and from time to time finds something running through all of them.
Okay, that was Bucky Fuller, and as you can see here, I've got a picture. Fuller was really a very famous guy. He's probably known by most around the world for what he did in 1967 in Montreal, Canada, where he created the U.S. Pavilion for that World Expo, and it was a geodesic dome. It was a three-quarter dome, and he wanted to give people an experience of the geometry of what he was thinking about. In short, Fuller was a designer, he was an author, he's an inventor, but to me, he was a very expensive thinker. And that's the reason why I've studied him so much, is because he was this huge, expensive thinker. And if I go on to think about what we're going to talk about, in my study for the last 26 years, the world has definitely changed, and has changed more into a very complex style of thinking, or a very fuller way of thinking. Before, the 90s, or before we had the speed that we have today, things were really quite simple in the way that we had to think of things. But as we go forward, systems and processes are going to allow us to go from simple, the system and the process become complex, and then go back to simple. To be able to do that, we really have to start understanding the design of this, whatever this body is, our human structure. And so since 1989, I've studied the philosophy of synergy, and it's a geometry of thought. And not a day goes by where I'm not thinking about, the way Fuller would think about it. Very expansive. I don't say I'm as expansive a thinker as him. I apply the thinking that I've learned from Fuller just to business. And one of the things that I'm absolutely clear about with Fuller is that his whole thing was think for yourself. Can you think for yourself? So I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to do a little bit of thinking for myself, and I'm going to go on to say that in Fuller thinking, you have a brain and you have a mind. He separates them out quite clearly. And in the thinking process, what I want to say to everybody here is the brain brings together, holds together as an organic storage form. That's how I would describe it. Not necessarily Fuller, but that's what I describe it as. It's organic, and it's a storage form. It's expanding, it's contracting. And it's really holding a lot of our consciousness together. And then when you look at the mind, in my view, The mind relates between relationship and interrelationship and is an organic force. It doesn't necessarily have form, it's an organic force. And I think over the next, if we're going to study design, we have to really understand our design first and how we apply our design to universe. So, in saying that, let's go out, let's have some fun. Until the next lesson, talk to you later.